Hey everyone, welcome to our Wednesday afternoon live training call, this is fun because group coaching is always beneficial, and this is / power hour. We'll see what kind of power hour we get done. But super excited you guys can be on. Congratulations to everyone that's doing the Consistency Club group. Are you guys liking it? Is it helping you to kind of have a little workflow every day and like a little checklist, and also to see that you're not alone? That's one of the huge things I feel like that I want to just encourage everyone with on our team, is that you are in business for yourself, but never by yourself, because sometimes this business can feel lonely and we don't want anyone to feel lonely. So I thought we'd just open it up with a couple of wins for the week. So March has begun, and I would love to hear if you have a win for the week. So you guys can pop, just popcorn style. You can raise your hand if you want, or just go ahead and unmute and share what your win is. Who wants to go first? Let's see. I have a couple people in the chat. Melody has had a couple friends reach out to me this week, friends who have been watching me for years. That's exciting. Christine says that I made a sale that I followed up with on Monday. Our business is built on follow-up, just FYI. So way to go, Christine, for following up. I've been consistent with products these days. It has been extremely helpful. Consistency is something, isn't it? It's like it lifts the lid in every area when we're consistent, even with one thing. Maybe that one thing is reading your Bible, like committing to that, or deciding to like move your body for 15 minutes every day, or staying consistent with your products. It's amazing how it lifts the lid in lots of other areas. Someone unmute, go ahead and share.
Yeah, so for me, a lot of my Plexus journey has been just dealing with all of the fear and all of the mind battles that happen. And I guess a big win for me yesterday, as I was processing through a lot of this, I forget her name. She's a diamond, and I was watching her videos. I think you posted her video yesterday, actually. That might have been the one that we watched yesterday. But she was talking about switching from fear to love. And that finally clicked in my brain to like how to actually turn those fears around and communicating instead of, I'm afraid of talking to this person, I love this person, I can't wait to help them, that kind of thing. So that's been a really big win for me just in my mind in helping me to move forward.
Love that. So reframing your fears, basically, or one, becoming aware of the fears or limiting mindsets, and then two, flipping it, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And using love as the antidote to fear, I guess.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. There's a Bible verse that talks about how perfect love casts out fear, and fear has torment. And so it's interesting because I feel like this business highlights our fears but like when we learn to well, one, acknowledge and become aware of fear, and then two, overcome it or just do it in spite of feeling scared about it, it's interesting how that translates into a lot of other areas of life, not just our businesses. So good, great, thank you for sharing. Is it Callista or Callista?
It's Callista.
Callista, okay. Did someone else unmute? So the chat's flowing here. Consistent. Oh, Julie signed up to ambassadors in the last 3 days. Yay, Julie! That's awesome. I've been seeing those emails come through from you. That's exciting. So it's interesting what consistency does, isn't it? It's so easy. I feel like it's easy to let like the most important parts of this business slip. Like, oh, you know, I can listen to a call. Hey, I can make a quick post. But sometimes it's like not that you even have to sit down, but like just the consistency of engaging and reaching out sometimes is the one thing that we tend to neglect, but yet that's the most important thing that moves the needle forward in our business. So love that, hearing that you guys are having wins with consistency. Jessica is meeting with a friend today. Yay! And tomorrow. That's awesome. So Jessica, is that a girl that is interested in the products or the business, or both? Or is she already on your team? You have to tell us the scoop. Oh, she's interested in both. Yay! In-person things like face-to-face stuff is so effective. You're able to get a way clearer picture of where people are at, and it's really good. Anytime you feel stuck in your business, look at your calendar. And if your calendar isn't full, and not that it has to be like your life, but if you don't have consistent meetups with friends for coffee dates, or chatting with so and so on the phone, or some events scheduled, it's a good thing to look at the calendar and be like, oh, well, when I was really in momentum and rolling in my business, I had stuff going on during the week. I wasn't just sitting behind. Now, there's nothing wrong with sitting behind your computer and working things either, because that's mainly how I've grown my business, but it is a good thing to have that awareness also. Angie had some people message me for samples, and I mailed them on Monday. Yay! I love Genevieve when she was talking at Super Saturday about having samples in circulation. Did you guys catch that? Because I think it's so easy to like send stuff out, and then I like totally forget to follow up with people, and that's a opportunity missed and a ball dropped, because the immediacy of like putting them in the calendar of like, okay, I mailed them on Monday, I'm going to check in with them on Thursday and see if they got them, and be like, hey, what'd you think? Did you try it yet? And getting them to, sometimes the samples sit on people's counter forever. And so like having that pointed conversation of, hey, you want to try it today? Hey, if I check back in with you later on today, will you have tried the samples yet? And just being super clear with them, like the goal is that they try it, and then plug them into some information and hopefully close them. Okay, Rachel has a couple of great days. And then this morning there was a big hiccup with my kids in scheduling. I was able to not feel overwhelmed and just shifted. Yes, that is a win in a big way, because I would say most of us are moms here, which means our time is no longer our own. And even if you are not married with kids, you probably still have other responsibilities outside of Plexus. And it's like learning to make adjustments, learning to shift, yet still stay consistent with the most important tasks in our business. So I love that, Rachel, that you did not allow yourself to feel overwhelmed, because this is one thing that I've learned. I don't remember who said it, just like mindset coaching and things like that. More and more people have said, our emotions are choices. So we can either choose the emotion of feeling overwhelmed, or we can choose to create a solution. Or, I mean, sometimes you're going to feel a certain emotion, but it's like what we choose to do with that. You can sit there and dwell on it and go deeper and darker into the hole, or you can be like, you know what, snap out of it. I'm going to choose not to be overwhelmed. I'm going to make myself a little list. I'm going to revamp, readjust, and roll. So yes, scheduled to work later in the day. Yeah, very good. Excellent. Okay, cool. Did you guys, okay, there's more people that have popped on. So thanks, guys. I really appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to pop on and listen to some coaching, and even being willing to share, because this is how we learn. And it's like the more shifts that we can make in our mindset and in our business, sometimes it's one little teeny tiny pivot that makes all the difference. And which I guess maybe I'll just go into that really quick. Let me think. Yeah, let me just share really quickly a takeaway that I had. And sometimes it's like that little tiny pivot that can be the game changer. Did you guys get a chance to listen to that live video that I like streamed into the team page from the Diamond page this morning? It was Trisha Rieger talking about Instagram, and she shared a little bit of her story. Okay, I thought that was so profound and so good. And I put a bunch of like questions in the comments underneath her video, because I am learning to do Instagram better. And a couple of, I don't know, it's probably more months ago than I realized, but I started initiating making myself get on Instagram, because it doesn't feel comfortable to me. It does not feel like close friends and family anymore. But I know that's the way the market is trending. Like, we have to be willing to adjust, because if we're always going to be in the fixed mindset of like, well, this is the way I do business, this is how I got to gold, and so that's going to be how I get to where I want to go and get to senior gold, right? Or I got to diamond primarily using Facebook. I did really not go out of my house that much, and yada, yada, yada. But I think the key is we have to be willing to adjust, shift, learn new things. Even for me, I've had the limiting mindset that I'm not techie. I hate technology, like all of those things. But those are limiting beliefs that I can shift, because I remember my dad saying, everything's easy once you understand it. You see the shift in that thinking? Because when we start to have more of an overcoming attitude instead of a, oh, I can't do that, or I don't have time to learn that, it completely shifts our mindset, right? When we reframe that limiting belief in the positive. And so I don't know, probably a year ago, started following this really cool, awesome girl that's in an essential oil company, and she has a massive following on Instagram. But I started to notice her little circles. I don't even know what those are called, but basically like your stories can be put in these little folders, and then you can name the folders, and you can learn about someone, and that person shares their influence and shares their life through these little series of stories. And so this girl had like home birth, homesteading, my business, just a smattering of different things. And so I was like, okay, well, I need to do that. I don't know how to do it, but I'm going to try. So I started to put my stories into those little tiny folders. And one thing that Jessica Heffley said a few months later when I was in a coaching call, she's like, y'all have to get on Instagram. You don't have to know how to do it all, but basically show up there every day, and you have to get in stories. You have to be in stories, and you need to go live. I think IGTV is huge. There are actually two people that Trisha Rieger recommended following. I actually need to put the names in underneath her video that I did this morning, but they have really good Instagram tips. And the thing is, things are always shifting in social media. So we have to be willing to learn and grow and do new things, right? And so one of the things, I'm kind of going on a rabbit trail here, but one of the things that really resonated with me from Trisha's call this morning was consistency, show up every day, and you have to be relevant and relatable to people. People buy from people if they trust them. How many people have built their businesses so far on people you know? I would say probably the majority of us, right? And so Instagram is a different animal, because you essentially can share with people and grow people you don't know. And so all the more reason to really work on growing, like having a brand, like figuring out what your brand is and growing your influence on Instagram and figuring it out. So it's showing up every day. And that's what Jessica Heffley said. Don't let it be an area of avoidance. Just start doing it. Okay, so I've been doing it, right? I've been showing up every day. And one thing that really resonated with me from Trisha Rieger's video was that you have to engage. She said the posts really are irrelevant if you're not engaging, because it all goes back to algorithms. So basically, like the little system behind Facebook and Instagram both is, if you are not social on social media, your stuff will not be seen by other people scrolling. And the more in the people's stories that you look at, that's who's going to show up first in your story feed. Okay, so all the more reason, she says, like she shared the story of when she first started Instagram, she was not selling plexus. I think she was maybe starting to share furniture, or maybe it was even before she started sharing furniture. She's like, I really had no ulterior motive, except she's like, I had zero influence. She's like, I had a couple friends from church and that was it. And so she basically built an entire massive business, multiple jewels on her team with strangers. And that should encourage every single one of us, because if you feel like your Facebook is tapped out, or you've already reached out to your warm market or whatever, here's a wide open ocean with plenty of sunshine for everyone. Okay, so she said consistently engaging behind the scenes was key. Engage, message. And I just want to also add to what we're already doing in our workflow each day. I would encourage you guys to really get consistent with not just checking off the list. I mean, I think like these are really important tasks, but then in little snatches throughout your day, if you have 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, you're waiting on someone in the carpool line or whatever, go engage on, it can be Facebook, but putting messages or putting comments of value on non-Plexus people's posts is so super essential. And one thing that I did a couple years ago is I have my downloaded Facebook friends list. I just redid it. Actually, my assistant did it for me, but she did a video on how to do that if you're not sure, and it's uploaded to our YouTube channel. But I have it printed, and actually it was Trisha Rieger that did a video about engage, engage, engage. And so I just did that on Facebook, and I did it consistently for the month of July 2 years ago. And I would say it was not coincidence that I signed up 8 people that month. And so I think it goes back to the fact that sometimes the only people that are seeing our posts, I say only, but it felt to me, even in that space of, I feel like the only people that are seeing my posts are my family and my church family. That was the vibe I was getting when I was on social media. And so I started intentionally engaging with non-family, non-close friends, non-Plexus people. Because what happened is that the algorithm worked in my favor. It started putting my content, my awesome posts into other people's news feeds. And also, just remember that algorithms hate you. And so you have to be working on those every day, being social on social media. And I'm not saying you have to go spend 2 hours in the afternoon engaging, but I will say, I'll just share really quick. I don't know. Oh, Molly is on. I don't know. Maybe she's able to pop on and share a little bit. But I remember when she first started, she was like, I don't know that I can do this because she came onto Facebook with 0 Facebook prior to Plexus. And she's just like, I don't have a wide circle on social media. But what she started doing, and I'm not sure how she figured out to do this, but she went and like a couple hours a day would go engage with people. Comments of value, not just like wow or hi. It was like, hey, I love that wallpaper in your bathroom. Oh my word, where did you find that? Okay, being conversational, being intentional, being social. And so several months of that, guess what happened? She gained influence with people. She gained rapport. She added a lot of value to people because she was not just commenting. She was also putting out posts and information that was valuable to people. When I think of Molly, I think of homesteading, homeschooling, a lot of like training children. So she's not just like blasting Plexus, Plexus, Plexus. She is using her brand, which is what's innate to her, what she loves to do, what's part of her life, and she's sharing that and on her social media. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, I love the fact that people trust people, buy from people that they trust, and that's the purpose of showing up every day on social media, is that you're building rapport and you're building trust with people. Okay, one thing I would like to say also is, who is in Brooke Hemingway's business coaching course? I know there's multiple people in here. Let me look and see if this is this is the one. This is not I printed my own, and so I have actually a bound copy that I am working on, but she has this wonderful little section in here, and it's, I don't know if you guys can see it, good, better, best. And she talks about the most important activities. Oh, here, even has a chart. The good, better, best things. And I wanted to address the fact that sometimes we avoid the best activities in our business because it's the most uncomfortable and the most scary. And so when you start to recognize like, oh, I have to do the 5 reach outs. Not that you have to, but I mean, it's part of the workflow. And if anything is on that list that you want to avoid, that might be it, because that's vulnerable, that's scary. You're in a place of uncertainty, kind of, because you don't know whether those people want Plexus or not, or want what you have. But that is what moves the needle forward. But yet, that's often the thing that we tend to avoid. And so what I love about the workflow is that those are the non-negotiables. And I actually made myself a workflow at the beginning of the year, because I'm like, I sometimes sit down and I feel willy-nilly. Does anyone else feel that way? Like, okay, I have an hour. What am I doing? Like, and so we have to figure out what are the top priorities in our business. And sometimes that shifts. Like for me, it may not always be messaging 5 new people every day. I still want to continue to help people and to continue to recruit and things like that. But like for that particular day, maybe that's not the top of their priority. For this month, I'm committed to that though, because I want to be a good example and I want to show that I can stay consistent, you can stay consistent, and I'm going to lead by example in that. But I will just say, figuring out the top priorities in your business is super key, and getting rid of the fluff. How many of you have wasted 30 minutes a day scrolling Facebook? That translates into like days of time, which is crazy, and we can never get our time back. And so what Brooke was just encouraging with is that the most important things are what we need to be concentrating on. And so anyways, she kind of has a box around the top priority. And it's just, I mean, even for me, it's helpful to see what are the most important things. What does she deem are the most important things? And I agree. Calling, messaging, and texting people, having events in person or virtually, meeting new people and strengthening relationships, personal development plan, starting people on your products and your business, developing willing and wanting that are ready to go into strong or grow into stronger leaders, and then teaching simple systems to help others be successful. And so anyways, I just wanted to say, when we have habits, those are non-negotiables. It's like when you decide that you are committed to exercising every day, then there's no question about whether it's going to get done. Same thing with your daily workflow. When you have a plan, then there's no question of like, oh, what am I going to do today? Or should I reach out today? No, it feels too vulnerable, right? And so it's the things like the Slight Edge books talks about, the things that are as easy to do as not to do. And it's actually, no one will actually know if you're not doing them, because often when you're in behind the scenes working in Messenger, or you're posting stories and doing polls, and you're like following up with the people that you can see are viewing your stories or responding to your polls, no one knows that you're doing that, right? Same with if you're like, well, I'll get to that stuff tomorrow. No one's going to know that. But guess what? In 90 days, it all comes out in the wash. And this business does come in spurts, which is all the more reason why to keep yourself super consistent. I'm not saying you have to always be perfect, because there's days that are crazy. So guess what you do? The next day, you double up, right? It's not rocket science. On a weekly average, you want your workflow to be getting done, right? It's just like in this business, we don't have, what is that called? Oh, quotas, right? It's not like we have to answer to a boss and say, hey, I did 25 phone calls today and I reached out to people. We don't have to do that. We're self-employed essentially, right? And so sometimes that lack of, accountability to someone else creates this laissez-faire, well, if it gets done, if it doesn't. But then we don't see the needle move forward in our business either, okay? So staying the course with the easy, or the not easy things, right? The scary things. I don't know if Debbie Proctor's on here. I don't see her. But I loved that she posted that she got everything done except the 5 reach outs. And she's like, this is something that I need to work on. This is something I need to grow in. But I'm just admitting to you guys that I did not get that done. And so I so appreciated the fact that she was vulnerable, because I can guarantee that there's a half a dozen other people that feel or felt or have felt the same way. Okay, anyone resonate with her her quandary there, or her, I don't even know what you want to call it, roadblock? I mean, I've had multiple mental blocks before. I'm like, I don't even know, one, who to reach out to today, and I do not know what to say. So if you felt that way, you're not alone. That's just part of the process. But I think the beautiful thing is when you're vulnerable like that and you reach out and say, hey, you call your sponsor, you message someone, or you post in the group, hey, I'm having a roadblock. How do I get past this? And so Debbie mentioned overthinking. That is a classic reason why we don't do the most important things, right? Because we're thinking, oh man, what are they going to think? Or I don't know how this person will take that. Well, I'm going to see them at church tomorrow. Are they going to be completely offended? So once you go down that line of overthinking, you have to just stop and say, nope, I'm scared to reach out to that person. So that means I need to do it. Anytime you're scared of something, that means you have to go do. Okay. and do it right away. Because if you wait and be like, oh, I'm going to do it later, it won't happen. Do it in the moment. The other thing is time of day. She just said she sat down. It was like after a long day. So I just wanted to also bring your attention to something I realized a couple years ago, was that if I wait till 11 p.m. at night to do reach outs, which you can still get them done, because I still got them done because I had goals, but you are probably not going to be operating at the same high level, intensity, excitement, encouragement, yay, attitude as you would earlier in the day. So figure out what your higher energy times of day are, or when you like to work your business. I find that for me, if I get my workflow done in the morning, anything on top of that is bonus. Or if I can knock out like the hardest things for me in my business first, then it's like easy street the rest of the day and I don't have to sweat, right? So I would just encourage you to really be considering like where your time is going, what you're giving your most high energy time to, so that you're not waiting till way late in the day to get the things done. Okay, and also this quote that says done is better than perfect. I just want to say that quote is for perfectionists, because I know some, including some of my kids, who would take that quote and be like, Mom, done is better than perfect. But I'm saying from a perfectionist standpoint, a lot of people will stand back here and not do the things because it's not perfect enough for them. And they have their own level standard of perfection, whatever that is. And so they just will stall, and it'll be days of sitting on this post that they're afraid to post because of whatever. The editing might not be perfect or whatever. I'm not saying not to make sure that your info is correct and you go through and read through your stuff to make sure there's not grammatical and spelling errors and things like that. But at the same time, sometimes you just got to get it out there, right? Even if it's not perfect. And so I'm just saying, from one perfectionist to another, if there are any other perfectionists in the room, that quote has helped me a bunch to not overthink and just like, you know what, put it out there, or go do the event. You're not going to be perfect at it. I'm not going to be perfect at it. I don't really know what to say. I don't really know how the flow is going to go. It's okay, because we're learning, and you learn personal growth. You learn to get better by just doing the things. So, I don't know what I've missed in the chat really quick. Let's see. At this point, let's open it up for questions, because I think that, I don't even know what time it is. I think that the most effective training comes from when there's a question, and then there can be some answers and discussion surrounding that. So I would love to hear if someone has a particular question or something they'd like to talk about really quick. Let me grab my phone.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I want to stay authentic, and I feel like I've done a good amount of reach outs from the financial perspective. So I'm just struggling a little bit with reaching out to three people today from the financial, concept, because I feel like I'm not sure that I have 3 people that fit that category right now. So I've been praying about it, and I'm not like giving up or throwing in the towel, but it is a struggle for me, because I have done some, and I'm not sure if I have any more people that I would do. Do you have any suggestions?
Okay, so do you have your Facebook friends list printed out?
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, do you have your Facebook friends list printed out?
Did you say, do I have my Facebook friend list? I do.
Okay, one thing that I did this morning is I just went through and looked at my list of people, and like there was just certain people that stood out to me as I like scrolled through it or flipped through a couple pages, and that's how I did it. The other thing, have you made a list of dream team people? No? Have you made a list of qualities of a dream team person?
I'm not sure. I think I did when we were working on Super Saturday, but I'm not sure.
Okay. So sometimes an assignment like that can like take a little prep in the sense of like, who am I looking for? And so when I was looking through my list, I had already kind of pinpointed some people that I would love to have on my team as business builders, but I've just never asked them. They were people that I've met more recently, but felt like for whatever reason I wasn't going to message them right away about my business until, excuse me, I had a little bit more rapport with them and had chatted with them some and things like that, added value to them. So the other thing too is sometimes there's been times where I've just set the standard of like, you know what, every reach out that I'm doing this week, I'm going to message 10 a day, and I'm going to reach out specifically about the business because I have no idea who wants this. Now, granted, you might not reach out to Matilda that's 95 because she probably is not going to fit my dream team list. But as you think through one, who would be a good candidate? Let me see if I have, I don't know if I have it quickly. I had made a list of people, not people. I made a list of qualities of people, you know, people that have good character, people that are influential, people that are successful, people that I like, people that I could see doing really well with this business. I don't know where my list went, but I had made a list of qualities of dream teamers. So that's number one thing is who would you want? Like, you probably wouldn't reach out to your Nancy negative friend because she wouldn't be a good fit. I don't want that type of person on my team. But if there's other people like, you know what, they seem influential. There's multiple people on my team now that I foresaw potential in. And some of them, well, most of them, I didn't reach out to because I was like, well, it's XYZ reasons why they would never do this. One of them is Gretchen Phillips. I totally wrote her off because she was not on Facebook, but I knew that she was influential. She had a good social circle. She's a great public speaker. She's a great writer. We used to blog, like multiple reasons why she would be good. I also thought, well, they're healthy. They would have no need for this. And so it was actually my husband that talked to her husband specifically about the business, and she drilled Justin. She always said she would never do network marketing. So I was actually kind of right with my vibe, but I had never communicated to her why I thought she would be great at this. Pretty sure I told her after that I completely saw her as a great candidate for doing well with Plexus. So all that to say, and also my own personal example of this girl in my town that she has her doctorate in physical therapy. She's attractive. She's a go-getter. She runs like 5Ks every summer. We used to run track. She didn't grow up in my hometown, but she married a guy that grew up in Oakland. And I totally thought of her in line of Plexus. Did not reach out to her. Maybe I did about the products, and she was like, I don't use supplements or whatever. I don't remember exactly, but I do know that she joined a different company and she's rocking it in a children's clothing company line. Now, pretty sure not to the level that she could in Plexus, just because the demographic is so small. You have to stock inventory, and there's only so many people that you could sell clothing to. But regardless, she had the skill set. I kind of saw potential in her, but I was too stinking scared to reach out to her, and thought, how often we prejudge like, oh, they would never do that. But sometimes we just have to make ourselves do the reach outs because we don't know. You don't know. I remember Jessica Heffley saying, you do not know. Do not prejudge who is going to do this and who is not. So I don't know if I answered your question though, Christine. Okay, so maybe just thumb through your friends list again. Oops, I think you're talking and the mute button's on.
Sorry. Yeah, I was going to go over my friends list again after this call, and definitely thinking about the qualities and the example that you just gave, like, remembering that we should not prejudge is super helpful.
Did you catch the little message clips that I sent to the people this morning?
I did.
Okay.
And I felt like they were really conversational and relaxed. And I think I need to go back and listen to them again because I'm not sure that I sound conversational and relaxed when I'm, like you say it in a way that makes people like, oh, wow, that Megan thought of me. You know what I mean? Like that's the impression that I think people would walk away with.
Yes. And that was something else I wanted to say is when I message people, I don't want people to feel this like icky, oh, she messaged me. I feel like I can't say no. I do not want to join her. I would never do that. Yuck. Like, I don't want to give people that feeling. And honestly, I think sometimes it's like, it's completely on other people, but I don't want to be, I would rather be a door than a wall in the sense of, I want people to feel open with me. And like, if it's not for them, that they're like, hey girl, I'm like totally not interested, but thank you so much for reaching out. Like that was super sweet of you. And I feel honored that you thought of me as someone that would do really well in the type of business that you run. And so I thank you, Christine, for verbalizing that because I want all of us to give people that feeling of honor. Oh, thanks for thinking of me. And I think that can come from just really practicing your wording, and it has to be like from your heart, from your gut. You can't necessarily take my words and like try to memorize them and make them yours. I would also just encourage you, because I had to work on this, because sometimes I feel like I'm like a robot and so I have to work on slowing down. Sometimes I try to talk way too fast because I'm nervous and I'm like, whoa, what are they gonna think? And so slowing down, saying something about them. And also voice messenger, I think, is so powerful and effective when you are especially reaching out about the business or even the products too. It doesn't matter, but just to let them know like, hey, I was thinking of you. It may or may not be for you. That's the other thing is like using words like that. This may or may not be for you. Hey, I thought of you today. I was praying for you. I mean, it has to be to give verbiage is hard because sometimes you're reaching out to someone that you legit don't know very well. And so you can't treat them like the, hey girl, you should come do this with me. But just having a really relational, conversational type message, whether it's written or whether it's voice messaged. So yes, I would encourage you all. And I messaged myself first. Like I messaged those voice messages to myself, which now you can actually go back in Messenger and like erase a message, but just for safety, because I did want to like listen to it before I actually sent it. So, okay, cool. What other questions do we have? The cool thing is like as you work the workflow and when you're, well, even if you're not new, but sometimes things pop up and you're like, oh my word, like what would you say to this? Or how do you respond when someone says this? You know, so those types of questions I think pop up as you work consistently. How do we message ourselves first? Oh, find yourself on Facebook Messenger and just hold the message button down and talk, but you're actually sending it to someone else. So you'd be like, I'm not saying, hey, Megan, I'm saying, who did I message? Sarah. Hey, morning, Sarah. I just wanted to reach out really quick. And it sends to yourself. And then you legit can just push the little square button next to it and forward it to the person that you messaged. Yeah, when you're doing the voice messages, you can do that. Callista's sponsor is Gretchen.
Yep.
You have to thank Justin for that. I was just thinking scared.
Yeah. So I had a question. You've talked about the importance of using Instagram. I have an Instagram, but I don't really know how to use it yet. And I had only used it for posting my artwork because I was working on kind of building up somewhat of an art business because that's kind of my major. And just kind of, how do you balance Instagram and Facebook? Are you doing a lot of duplicates on both platforms, or how do you work those two social medias together? Because for me, it feels like just Facebook is so time consuming that I have a hard time being able to give that attention to Instagram too. And so I usually end up neglecting one or the other.
Yeah. So this is the tricky thing is, so for example, Trisha Rigger and her team 99.9% do Instagram. And so they're only like sometimes posting to Facebook, but I think Facebook for them is just such a small circle of their network that they like keep stuff alive over there, but their main jam is Instagram. And so I would say if you're new and you're currently on Facebook, do that first, but at the same time I would start doing some Instagram. And so for me personally, I don't even remember when it was, probably 2 years ago, started Instagram, and I post far less over there. I mean, I've even reduced a lot on what I post on Facebook. So pretty much one post a day, and then anything else goes into my stories. So I would rather have one really, really great post that I've really put thought into on Facebook and Instagram, and then anything else goes in my stories. And also if I like just post words or something, that I don't post that on Instagram. But I always do my stories first on Instagram, and I know you can link them. I got to figure out how to link them, but I'll just post whatever Instagram stories that I did, because I like the GIFs and the polls and the stuff I can, write on my stories better on Instagram. And then I'll just quickly, because it naturally saves it to my phone, like it automatically saves it, and then I just boop 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 go to Facebook and throw them up on Facebook really quick. But I have way more interaction on Instagram on my stories than I do on Facebook. I get more visibility on Instagram in my stories than on Facebook, and that's without even interacting. So I'm still learning to navigate Instagram. I don't know, Stephanie or Molly, if you want to pipe in anything. But I would say if you're brand new to Instagram, I would really be intentional about like, what are your top 3 to 5 things that describe you? That way you are really clear about what your brand is. And then you just sprinkle Plexus, a little bit in there. And I didn't even start posting about Plexus for a long time on Instagram. I just shared, the things that describe me, that made sense to post to Instagram. Stephanie said, I reached out to someone yesterday that just sort of stopped talking, and I sent her a message. She messaged me today to say, what's this Plexus stuff look like during a day? So that's really cool. And I think it's a matter of reaching back out and following up with people, because people get busy and forget to message back. And so the ball is always in our court to bounce the ball back. And even to sometimes just change up what you're talking about and just like comment about something that they posted, just to be conversational. I missed what you said about the stories between Facebook and Instagram. Oh, I was just saying that Instagram stories, I start there with my stories and then I post them to Facebook. And I've heard that not to exceed more than 6 stories at a time, and to post them throughout the day instead of just like blasting 15 Instagram stories. It'll give you more of a balanced, couple times a day type sprinkling in. Alrighty, what other questions do you guys have? Instagram is more pictures than words, I would say. So people get on there for like to look at stuff more than to read gobs and gobs of paragraphs. And so, yeah, that's kind of a general gist. But if you're on Instagram, you can kind of scroll through and see the difference. Also, Instagram is important to use hashtags also. Oh, I was going to look up those people that Trisha had recommended. Let me look really quick. Oh, in terms of like income producing activities, I would say messaging is really important, but also engaging. I'm just reiterating that because Trisha was just like engage, 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 commenting, adding value to people is so key. Okay, so this lady's name is Shalene Johnson. And there's another one. And Suzy School, S-U-Z-Y School. So Trisha loves tips from Shalene Johnson and then Suzy School. And Trisha did say, don't like mass follow Plexus people. She said, it's kind of like on Facebook. You don't want your whole Facebook feed to be filled with Plexus people because it clogs it and makes it really tricky. So just follow people on Facebook and on Instagram. I would just find people that you really like how they post. For example, Bridget Ryan. I follow her. I'm like always utilizing her like her Instagram stories because I can use her ideas and then create my own idea, like my own stuff with her ideas. And she's so wonderful at like creating stories out of everyday stuff, right? And that's what's attractive to people is like, you don't have to go magically create all this content. It's like what your kids are eating for lunch. And Bridget did a story yesterday on like her kids are constantly wanting snacks. So she had like pictures of like fruit and vegetables set out on the counter. And she's like, and Arlene, she's like, my kids all the time. She's like, these come in snack portions. My kids love these for snacks. And so she was sharing like mom tips, but at the same time, Lean was in there, right? In her house, on her counter with her kids, right? And so that's creating that influence with people. And they're like, oh, well, what is that? I need to know what that is. Do we have a good video that explains how to create pretty stories? I don't know if you need a video on how to create them. You could probably go on YouTube and see some. Stephanie or anyone else that's an Instagram person that has tips or ideas, feel free to pop, unmute and share. But there's an Instagram page on Facebook, or not Instagram. It's a story like resource where you can go. Did you see that? I posted it in I think yesterday's post. So it's a link to Facebook, but like there's a bunch of people that have posted their beautiful stories that you can utilize. So just save them to your phone. Stephanie, did you want to pipe in something?
Well, I was just going to say exactly. So I looked for YouTube videos too, and I didn't find a ton. But what Brooke says, because I'm in her coaching thing, she's like, you have to just play with it and figure it out. So she recommends a couple of different apps that make really beautiful stories. One of them is Story Art, and the other one is Unfold. I have used both, but lately I have been doing a lot of utilizing that group. People who are already really, really good at it. If I really track with their stuff, then I use that. And then what I'll do is I'll then use these apps if they have a slide or two that I want to edit out for my story or my information, and then it will still look cohesive. But the majority of it, I've still been using other people's because I just don't want to spend hours making beautiful stories. But if that's something that's really on your heart, like you just have this artistic flair and you could be amazing at this, just realize it's going to take time because you're going to have to just play with it for hours. So set aside time when you're not supposed to be doing your other IPA to play with it, and you'll get good at it. It's not actually hard. You just have to play with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm one of those people that I don't want to sit and create a bunch of stuff, graphics and beautiful pictures. And so there's so much on here, like the 3-day beauty boxes, gut health, there's stuff about the opportunity. And so like today I did the Joium and collagen one. I added a poll to it. I sometimes add like extra little gifts and like fun little things that pop up and things like that. There's actually a Plexus GIF that has lots of like little slim things and, you know, things that you can add to it. And then I put a picture of myself and some information about, oh no, it was Lauren Collinsworth pregnancy story. And then I ended that story with a picture of me and saying like, hey, I have a new post, go check it out. And it's my business story. So the other thing too is I'll pop in the threads again, but Molly Schultz had posted a little video on how to create a list of people that you're following on Instagram. That was highly valuable. I don't remember how to do it, so I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch it. It was like 2-minute video, but just how you can create a little, you know, list of people that you're following for that particular month so that you can intentionally go and comment on their stuff every day. And so it's important to be gaining followers and to have that, you know, conversation style stuff happening, but that's not going to happen by osmosis. Like we have to initiate with that. That reminds me of something really quick I'll say. So Debbie, when she was just sharing like, oh my word, those 5 reach outs, I didn't get them done. But then she, like when I probed a little bit more, she said, well, I talked to 2 new people, but I didn't initiate. They had commented on a post of mine. And so I followed up with them. And so she didn't count those as 2 new reach outs because she didn't actually message them first. And so I just wanted to encourage you guys, like this workflow is like an idea to get you engaging, get you initiating and things like that. But it's not like gospel saying, oh, I actually like ended up following up with them because I didn't actually create the conversation. I didn't actually initiate. If they commented on your post and you've never chatted with them before, count that as a new reach out. Like I was telling, who else was that? I remember who that was. I just said, oh, Abby, I think. I'm like, don't be legalistic because I can tend to be that way. Like, well, I don't want to lie on my paper and say I got it done if I didn't actually message 5. The idea is, are you engaged in conversations? Okay, maybe for that particular day, you didn't actually say Plexus to people because you're still in like a massive relationship building stage, and that's okay because that matters too. And I remember I was chatting with Amy Booker the other day, and she's like, some people have such a small circle, like they have to really work on expanding their network. And so maybe IPA for you looks like deciding what 3 Facebook groups you're going to join, and every single day you're going to show up in there and add comments of value, chat with people in there, get to know people, friend people, be a presence in those groups because that's a way to go expand your network. But you have to like pick what you're going to do to expand your network and then stick with it consistently. Because if you're not, you know, being consistent with maybe, you know, showing up every day in those Facebook groups, you're not going to build rapport. Does that make sense? So whatever method that looks like for you, maybe it's on Instagram and you're going to do Molly's little tip with following specific people for a month. So let's see. Expanding your network. Yeah.
Can I?
Yeah, pipe in. That'd be great.
I was just going to say that in the beginning-ish, so somewhere between like super silver and gold, maybe even into senior gold for me, that was like crippling, like feeling like I wanted to plug into all of the things that we were doing, the massive reach outs, like all the things, but I'd already talked to all the people I knew well.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I was feeling like I was lying if I wasn't saying Plexus to everybody, like, you know, on the things that you'd have us do. And it was incredibly freeing to me to be told that exactly what you're saying. Reaching out is engaging. It's loving on people. It's genuine relationships. So guys, really, it's so true. And the more genuine you are, the more vulnerable you are. The other thing is picking people who you are really going to jive with, who you're actually going to want to be friends with. So as you're looking for people in these groups, don't just be looking for the people who look sick and miserable and you know they need Plexus, because that's true, but you want to be building relationships with people who are like-minded. So you look for groups of things that you really love, and then you look for people in there that you think you're like, I could be friends with this person. I like her. And then you just develop this genuine relationship, and it's really fun. It's really cool. Some of my coolest friends did not know before Plexus. And you meet them all over the place. It's really fun. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. When I was I think it was an IPA challenge or something, and it was like, go friend 5 new people today. And I just did it to check it off the list. I did not look at their profiles. I did not really check them out very carefully. And so don't do like I did. You want to make sure that they're not friends with like mutual Plexus people. You want to make sure they don't have like a crazy cat lady picture on the profile, okay? Because do you really want someone that doesn't have a profile picture on your team? Probably not. You want people, when you peruse their feeds, you want to like say, yeah, I would be friends with that person, even outside of Facebook or Plexus or whatever. So be choosy in that. Don't just like do it to cross it off the list. And the other thing that I really appreciated with Brooke's coaching is she said, it is professional before you message someone that you don't recognize their name, go scroll their Facebook feed, because you want to be able to resonate with something that they've shared. And also it's tacky if you message other Plexus people, which I've done multiple times. I did it the other day accidentally. And she's like, oh, honey, I'm already in Plexus. I'm like, oh, sorry, I did scroll your wall and I didn't see any posts. So that's why I reached out. And she's a wholesaler, so I had no idea of knowing that. But it takes an extra 30 seconds, but it's important because it'll give you some sort of, content to draw from. Building relationships are hard for me because I've been a private person for so long. Stephanie, thank you for being really honest with that. And when I started Plexus, I was very private too, kind of, in a sense. Like in person, like we were pretty open people. Like we love to have people over. We've done that for years. But like in the sense of social media, I was like, I kind of had alarm bells because like, oh, is it safe? Should I be posting about my family? Like I had transitioned from blogging to social media just because like all the aunties, sister, like as you grow older, not everyone just lives in the same little community anymore, right? And so I was like, well, this is a way to connect and, grandmas and grandpas can see what we're doing. But then when I started Plexus, I was like, well, if I'm going to share, I got to get more than 150 Facebook friends. I don't even remember how many I had, but it was pretty limited. Like I wasn't even friends with all my cousins because I kept it small on purpose. And so I resonate with you in that sense of, oh, I'm going to have to change a little bit if I want this to grow, if I want to be able to help more people. And it's not just like you want to just go sell to a bunch of people, because I felt like I have to do it in a way that's genuine to my heart because I don't want people to feel like they're a sale to me. I don't want people to think I'm just reaching out because I'm trying to grow my business or make a buck off of them. So I had to like work through all that head trash in my mind to know how to frame it, because ultimately the reason why I wanted to grow my Facebook friends list was to share Plexus, and that's not a bad thing, right? The world operates off of business, and I started to frame things like, you know what? Jesus ministered to people's physical health issues before he ever was able to, have an inroad to talk to someone about their spiritual health. And so I felt like, you know what? Anything that puts me in communication and expands my friendships and influence over people is a good thing, because it means opportunity for a lot more than just, sharing health products with people. Am I cutting out a bunch? I'm having those weird pop-ups saying my internet is unstable. Sorry guys if it is. So I started I started initiating and really being intentional about expanding my network on and off social media. Where's Stephanie? Oh, I don't see your face, but it's okay. I also realized that I was going to have to expand my skill set because I was very introverted, especially growing up, less so as I became a mom, and you just have to like engage people more just naturally. But it felt very outside my comfort zone to be more like my mom. My mom, we've always accused her for running for office because everywhere we go, she's meeting people and hearing their life story, like on the elevator. And when I started Plexus, I was like, you know what? I'm going to have to become my mom. Like, because she expends energy for people, and she literally has no ulterior motive except she loves to learn about people. And her example to me was so good because I was like, wow, it's important, not just for business, but lots of reasons. And so I started forcing myself to engage people. And I remember Sheila Medina saying, you know, engage the person at the checkout. She's like, how many other people engage them throughout the day? Probably not very many. People are busy. People are thinking of themselves. And when I've met people that are super duper successful, you can tell why they're successful. Like Sheila Medina, gave an example. Like, she's like, so I'm checking out at the grocery store, and she's like, so I'm like asking the checkout girl, hey, how's your day gone? Has it been crazy here? Is it busy? Tell me about your day. Kind of attitude and like genuine love for people. Like, you're expending energy. I naturally would be like, check out my stuff and I gotta go. But learning to engage for the sake of engaging. I'm not even talking about that lady about Plexus to that girl necessarily. I'm just working on my people skills. Does that make sense? Now I have had seasons, some more so than others, where I've intentionally made myself, every time I go out of my house, I'm going to tell people about Plexus. And Sonia Dudley had a video, and she's like the most natural Southern belle you've ever met. And when I was listening to her, she's like, oh yeah, I was chatting with someone when I was pumping gas, and she's like, you know what, my business is expanding in this area. Have you ever heard of Plexus? And I was like, oh my word, it like rolled off her tongue so easily. And here I am, like super awkward, feeling weird. And then like, so I had to make myself get out of my comfort zone and engage people in person, not just hide behind a screen. So I just encourage you guys to practice, not because you think you're going to sign up the post office lady when you're sending out samples, but because you need to practice talking to people, or I need to practice talking to people. That's how we get better at it, right? And it becomes less awkward. So when you're like mailing out samples, you're like, you know, talking to her, getting stuff ready, and you're like, hey, so I'm sending out these Plexus samples. Have you ever tried it? And they're like, no, what is Plexus? And then I'm like, well, here, try a sample, you know, and then that gives me an opportunity to give him a card and be like, yeah, it's helped me with my gut health. It's helped Ben with his eczema. You know, are you on Facebook? Here, I'll friend you and I'll send you some info. It's like natural conversation. And obviously not every conversation you can kind of read people, whether they're like, yeah, thanks, or whether they're truly kind of interested. And so you have to use some intuition there as well. But yeah, get out of your bubble and talk to people. That's my encouragement. Ah, it's 2:36. Oh my word. Time goes away, doesn't it? Okay, well, oh, Julie, I'm horrible at that. Okay, where's Julie? There's Julie. Okay, so we're going to reframe that. And we're going to say, we're going to make an affirmation for you, or actually maybe an affirmation, which is a question. Why am I so wonderful at talking to people? Or when I go out in public, I am genuinely interested in other people. You know, whatever the affirmation or affirmation needs to be for you. But instead, I love that you are admitting that you're horrible at it, because there is some merit to just being open and vulnerable. But also, don't let that become a story in your head that limits you. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? I'm working at getting out of my comfort zone more often so I don't sound like Porky Pig while talking to people. Exactly. Because if you're not naturally like a chatty, talkative person with people, I can speak from experience. It's awkward, but it becomes less awkward because you're learning a skill set, right? Does that make sense? So thank you for saying that, Julie. Actually, I think there's a lot of value in saying like, okay, this is what I'm struggling with. Help. Because I guarantee you're not the only person. And, you know, that's the cool thing is this is a safe place to say those things. And it's also the place where we'll reframe things so that we can get better. Okay, well guys, I need to pop off. I know you guys have stuff to do as well, but thanks for popping on. I will get the recording up, and Amy Booker is the hostess for next week's entire week. So she'll probably pop on live a few times, and then the next couple of weeks, the live training is on Wednesday, just different times. So any other quick questions you guys want to talk about? I need to go make sure my babies are in bed, taking their naps. Alrighty, well, you guys have a great Wednesday. I will chat with you soon. Bye, guys.